The kids and Jared and I, we sat down. I'm like, I'm not feeling quite kosher about Halloween this year for some reason. Can we all pray about this as a family? Like, is this something we want to celebrate still? And we took some time, we prayed, and we all came with the consensus that it's kind of dark, and we've celebrated it for our own gain and for our own like joy and fun, and we're not really being a light in the darkness when we're just dressing up and getting candy and doing. We literally mimic what culture's doing. And so I wanted to be different. And we ended up making chocolates for our neighbors instead, homemade chocolates.
My response to that was, we don't want to participate the way that everyone else is participating. Then what is God asking us to do instead?
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 strength and health authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Strong by Design podcast. This is
spooky laughs.
Spooky laughs all around. Steve, how are you?
Doing good. Yourself?
Doing great.
Feeling spooky.
You're looking pretty spooky.
On the
You
shoulders.
have a very scary wolf on your shoulder.
Two of them.
There's one on both?
I was going to say, I thought it was like,
twins.
Oh,
like
I
a
can't
cat.
tell. Look, turn a little bit. Okay, yeah, it's more of a bobcat.
It's a cat.
From here, it looks like a longer snout,
Yeah.
so it looked
Does
more
it?
wolfy. But sorry, you guys have the better angle on it.
It's true.
It's a bear.
So, it's a werecat.
Yeah.
I
I like it. We are joined. This is a fun group today we have here on
Recently
the Strong by
extinct.
Design podcast. We have the legendary Jared Haley here, sitting opposite me with the same exact outfit. This was not planned.
We have different
In
pants on.
fact, when your children walked in, they all gave me like a
Did they?
funny look.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "You look like my dad."
Aw.
Yeah, it was
It's because
cool.
I'm so
As
big and bulky.
That's true. Right. The masculinity was just.
That's right.
He's been
oozing.
putting on mass, Jared.
He has been.
I have.
Past year, he's been putting
Yeah.
on some
Right
pounds.
around my waist.
Yeah, sort of a donut shape.
It's kind of going. It's all going in one spot. So
Bulking.
Listen,
and
the dad bod is in.
it is.
right?
It's never
hip.
been out. It's always been in. And his beautiful, lovely wife, Cairistiona. Welcome to the Strong by Design podcast.
Thank
AKA
you.
the
Nothing
better
new
half.
for you. You've been on the show many times over the last couple of years. So today's conversation.
What are we talking about?
I know.
Why am I here?
We don't know.
Just because you're fun.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we'd
let's
like
do
to
it.
have you on the
Steve,
show.
I've never been
when
on a
we can.
podcast with you, have I? Oh, no, we have. We did a conspiracy one.
Yeah. That's what I'm usually brought in. So this is I'm confused.
Yeah, you don't know why you're here.
Wait, no, but
I don't believe Halloween is even
makes
real.
4 for you. I think this makes 4. You've
This is
done
number 4.
2 conspiracy theory episodes and the Sound of Freedom
yeah, that's
takeaway
right. I've been
episode.
on
True.
multiple.
So,
with Steve.
so this is number 4, I believe.
4-time heavy hitter.
This
right
I
there.
thought was I think we've touched on this before in previous years with a different group. I think with Tanya and Sam and Mike, I think we did something where we talked about it, but it was more, we were talking about like spooky experiences or things that, it was more just Halloween
paranormal.
storytelling. It wasn't really, but I wanted a conversation that was a little bit more about our kind of feelings as Christians.
Let's talk about our feelings.
And or at least our perspective on this kind of, I don't know, you call
That's
it a
why we had to
holiday.
bring Christiona in. It's because we wanted to talk about feelings.
We're going to talk about feelings, so we brought our token
And us three guys just
mo-
are good at
mommy
it.
in
Yeah.
to be able to talk through our feelings.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I thought it would be interesting because so many of our conversations are evergreen, meaning that they're
green
listen-
forever.
They're
Yeah,
gre-
don't mansplain
Well,
Evergreen to Cairistiona, all right? We all
Would
understand.
you stop? It's a conversation that means it's kind of good for all times. It's a conversation that is good from one year to the next. This one's a little bit more specific to a particular time of year, Halloween,
Fall.
and the fall season. But also, I wanted it to be a mix of probably feelings about this holiday, and without too much of a script to follow, and not too many. It's not like we haven't previously discussed this amongst each other in the hallways or anything like that. So I thought it would just be a fun topic, And so maybe we just go around the horn, maybe quickly.
What is the topic?
Yeah, we
hopefully,
don't know.
hopefully the title is
they
very,
know
very
they've
specific.
clicked on it already. They
hope.
know what they
I don't know
landed
what we're
on.
talking
It's
about.
not
We're
like I
talking about-
called this episode,
This is the election
climbing Mount
episode, right?
Everest. You know, they know like what they're here
Climbing
for.
Everest.
You know what I mean?
The scary things you see
So-
on Everest.
When you let's pose it this way.
Okay.
When you think of Halloween or someone mentions it to you, what are your first thoughts?
Candy,
Okay.
dressing up,
Yes.
Day of the Dead.
Ooh, okay.
Dia de los Muertos.
That's Day of the Dead in
All right,
Spanish.
so that's candy, dressing up, costumes, and Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Witches.
Okay, witches.
He has more. Keep going.
Great. No, he might have more, but I want to keep it simple and just
Full
kind of
moon,
superficial.
bobcat, werewolf.
Would you stop? Cairistiona.
Superficially?
Same question to you.
Dressing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just dressing up, having fun.
What about non-superficially?
Kids dressing up.
Don't put words in my mouth. I said superficially, just dressing up.
Okay. Steve.
No, yeah, all the above what they just said. I think nighttime. I think it's the only holiday that like I immediately think of like the middle of the night. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Whereas all the other holidays, you're like maybe you have a dinner, maybe it's. I mean, there's Christmas Eve, I suppose.
Sure.
It's kind of a nighttime, but this is more like after hours. Like that's when this holiday is kind of.
There you go.
Getting drunk.
Just saying something
after
different because they
hours.
covered all the other bases
Darkness.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
The dark,
The dark.
the moon.
I'm kind of a combination of all of that, I guess. If someone asked me that question, I would think immediately of dressing up. I'd think of fun times I've had at like parties or costume, like where I was as a contest and whoever has the best costume wins. I've been part of stuff like that before.
You
And
love
certainly
stuff like
going
that.
through like being a kid and just having fun with your pillowcase, going to neighbors' houses and getting candy.
Man, we don't have pillowcases anymore.
That's what we use.
Yeah, me too.
Back in the,
Yeah.
I'm not
You can
gonna
get a lot more than in a little.
I mean, literally back in
Halloween
the 70s, I can
pumpkin.
say.
Did you used to
because
put the
when I was
pillowcase back-
4 years old, I we-
1870s.
I'm not that old, Steve. But 70s and 80s that was Halloween for me. It was I think a simpler, a more innocent time anyway.
I can tell you-
innocent throwing eggs and toilet paper at people's houses
Yes.
too.
When we were living in Keensburg in Colorado, it's kind of a smaller town.
Yeah.
And it was like, on Halloween, it was like a Disney movie where
Yeah.
like there's kids everywhere
Yeah.
and like the whole neighborhood's out. It's like a whole neighborhood party.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't crazy, but it's just like, how when you look at the
that
old.
whole scene.
Yeah, the whole, like Hocus Pocus,
Yeah.
where all the kids are out. And,
I wonder if that small town type of thing still exists today, or is it too much for people?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was
nowadays?
only like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was a unique experience
Yeah.
because when we were in the city, it's like it's not that way. It's,
Was it
it's a little
during
different.
COVID?
It was. Was it?
Probably
our-
added to it.
Our our city wasn't in lockdown.
Yeah.
It was like one
Our
of the-
county.
Our county. There you
Yeah.
go. So
And this is in Colorado.
this
Yeah.
was in Colorado.
So everyone
We-
came out on
we
Halloween.
called,
They all went
100.
nuts.
That's right.
Yeah.
We
I think
called-
so.
Well, because
We called Weld County,
At least they
like-
were masked.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone had masks on, so it worked.
Not there. We didn't have a mask
No,
mandate.
that's good.
Yeah.
We didn't either in Florida. We didn't either.
We called Weld County like the Florida of Colorado.
Ooh, did you really? Prior to moving here,
Correct.
prior to even
Not
knowing
even-
you were going to
Not
move
just
here.
us. I mean, lots of people did.
Lots of people.
Interesting. Oh,
Because
good for you
our
guys.
county leaders were like, forget that. We're going to do what we
See,
want.
I think it's hard because you come from kind of the city, Steve, right? Like it's been
Originally, but yeah, sure. Yeah, I've seen.
You've been
city
in the
life.
city
Yeah,
before
sure.
moving to Florida. You were in the city for the most part.
Yep.
And not in a small town environment. So I think it's hard for a lot of people to picture that, or does that still exist?
You're in Brooklyn?
A lot of people, but
Yeah, I didn't grow up in Brooklyn.
I mean,
I grew up in.
but you were in-
I grew up
I'm
more
saying you-
rural, so there
you-
wasn't enough people.
I'm
for
saying
that
you
type of
experienced
experience.
Halloween in Brooklyn.
in New
Yes.
York. Yeah, the New York Halloween parade
Yeah.
and what all that comes.
Ooh, they
out.
have a
see,
parade.
in my
Big parade.
my community, people come from the area
Yeah.
to and walk to our neighborhood to be able
Yeah.
to do Halloween in our neighborhood. Jim Muldoon, who we all know, we used to go his old neighborhood back years ago. We would drive and park in his driveway.
Yeah.
And his neighborhood, thousands of people would come, and it was fun. It was moms and dads and kids and just friends and groups of people, like just
Is it
in
because they have the
neighborhood.
big candy bars?
Big candy bars help.
Yes,
But
they do.
everybody would get in the kind of character. People handing out hot candy would be dressed up, and their houses were elaborate, and it was just a kind of fun, goofy. I guess I like to use the word innocent because I don't think it was like you, and you said the word superficial.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it was. It was just on the surface.
Yeah.
I don't think when I was a kid, I didn't look at it with any kind of darkness or anything. It was just a fun time to dress up and be silly and be a character and get candy.
Tons of
And
candy.
that's where and that's kind of where it stayed.
So much candy,
for
you
much
have
of my
enough to
youth.
give out the next year.
So much candy that you end up throwing it away. I mean, we throw gobs of candy away
Yeah.
2 weeks later when the kids, they don't even ask about it.
How much is a
anymore.
gob?
Gobs? A gob
like
of
a
candy?
handful?
A gob of
Not a
candy.
handful.
It's like
I
one
would
and a half
equate-
gallons.
Yeah. I would say like a big mixing bowl, that's
Yeah.
a gob.
That's a full gob.
That's a
That's
gob.
a gob. I
And
love
so
gobs.
Technically.
I throw
What if the candies
Multi-
are all ghouls and you have a full gob of ghouls?
gabagool.
That's where that comes
That's
from.
why
it
you're,
is. That's where that
this is
comes
why
from.
you're part of this
See, I'm here to bring
conversation.
the history of Halloween
Yeah.
to you all. You know,
Oh my god.
have a gob
That's
of
where-
ghouls.
that's where it came
Got
from.
a full gob of ghouls
Okay,
here.
now let's
Okay.
take that same question
Okay.
and let's go next level with it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Deeper meaning for you.
What are we
Like,
celebrating?
What are we? What
What
are
is
we?
the whole
What are
point
we
of it?
celebrating, and why? Like, do you kind of?
Yeah. So I think deeper down, it is. I said Day of the Dead earlier, but it's a celebration of death. I mean, that's what the Day of the Dead is for. I can't say the Spanish words.
Oh.
Oh,
Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, that.
Muertos.
Yeah, which means Day of the Dead. But it's a celebration of death. And I mentioned like witches and things like that. Like there are people out there that they see that as like a sacred day, and they're doing all kinds of ceremonies and all kinds of different kind of, I would call it demonic stuff on that particular day.
and this goes back centuries. I mean, doesn't this predate our country?
Let's turn to our history buff, Steve.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean-
I'm glad I'm the history buff. I don't know. Okay, so this is what I do know,
That's
and
fine.
I hope no one corrects me because I'm like 90% sure on some of this. The holiday stems from a Gaelic holiday, so the
Yeah.
pagans and the Gaelics.
I'm Gaelic.
I'm Gaelic.
Cool.
You know,
Gaelic's
no,
good.
little
no
bit.
judgment here. No judgment here.
Light,
you can have
Gaelic
whatever preference that you like.
Gaelic.
Basically, yeah, I mean, they were called the Saxons. I mean, basically,
Yes.
the Romans tried to invade the Britain area, and they were just full of a bunch of pagan types. So they had like druids. They would do ceremonies in Stonehenge, and you can look at this as maybe it wasn't of God or of the God that we know, or maybe it was just this is how primitive man was trying to figure out the concepts of ethos and death. But basically, the holiday is right between, or how they celebrate it. I can't pronounce the word. There's a word for it they had. It's like Salheim or something like that. Salem or something. But it's right between the autumn equinox and the winter equinox. And the point of it was to, I wouldn't say it was a celebration of death. It was sort of like they would remember those that died during the year.
Yes.
And they would putting on the masks. Well, like there's a lot of the traditions that we have are kind of taken from that, but in like weird ways. Like the jack-o'-lanterns were turnips, because in Ireland and Great Britain they didn't have pumpkins at the time.
Was it
They would
Ireland or Scotland?
I mean, I think it was that whole kind of that whole area. Those the islands.
Those islands.
They're all kind of the same type of vegetable.
But they would carve up turnips
Gaelic
and
is
they would
Scottish,
put them.
not
It was
Irish.
turnips to start in front of their house,
like turnips.
and it's to ward off evil spirits. Same thing with the mask. The people would put masks on in order to, while they were celebrating this day, that the spirits didn't recognize them as who they were and would go to their home. You know what I mean? So they weren't haunted later on throughout the year.
Superstition.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of superstition,
Yeah.
sure, but that's kind of where the holiday came from. And then I believe Roman Catholics kind of took it and changed it to All Hallows Eve or All Saints Day,
Yep.
and it was
Yes,
it was a
that's
week long celebration. And then it sort of became a couple days, and
and
then
they had bonfires and
it wasn't celebrated over here in America for a long time until I think late 1800s, somewhere in there. It kind of was brought back up in Tennessee, of all places, I believe. as like
Yeah.
they just kind of started it back up, and they kind of made the pumpkin thing was kind of there, the costumes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of the history of it that
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not
no.
100% on many of the
Well,
dates, but
and to me, it makes perfect sense though for something that was highly marketable, decades and decades ago,
Consumable, yeah.
and just seen as a opportunistic thing for businesses and advertisers to like drive
Yeah, the
business.
pop-up,
holiday.
the pop-up Halloween stores.
Yeah,
Spirits.
I'm telling you. Oh my gosh, they're everywhere, right? Any store that goes out of business will be a spirit Halloween
Yeah.
costume shop,
Yeah.
for a few months.
to me, those are sort of like the late stage capitalism reasons. I think
Right.
the original reason, like, you know how like Christianity and Catholicism sort of spread, and as it was spreading, people were already celebrating various times and places.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to like mold your holidays in with theirs to kind of
Yeah.
create some like a halfway in between.
Sure.
Like, oh, we'll all celebrate, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because there was different religions in the places, and they were very combative. So it was nice to have sort of like one thing that they all kind of celebrated to create a better culture, so that everyone kind of had synergy together and stuff.
Interesting.
So that's kind of like there's a lot of holidays we had. Like Christmas is the date of it isn't necessarily when it should be.
Yeah.
So it's like we kind of merge that with something. So Halloween's one of those, in my opinion. I think now making it about the costumes and the buying and the buying and the buying and the buying. That's
I mean,
that's a later purpose.
For the
I
last
think.
50 years,
Sure.
anyway.
It's very Americana.
Yeah, right. But that's the way I see holidays. Like a lot of them are, at least how they are today, are strictly like a government holiday for spending stuff. For buying
Yeah.
crapola for the most part.
Yeah.
So, I don't see it in the
Can-
demonic way that you do.
Right.
Candy
That's-
that
I guess that's where
candy
I'm-
that you throw away, and costumes that you throw
and
away.
garbage costumes. Yeah.
Right. Well, I actually take pride in how I maintain my costumes so that I can use them
Over
you know,
again.
over and over again.
Yeah.
I have a few keepers for sure. Yeah. You want to know what I'm going to be this year?
Oh, I do. Go for it.
Well, this will release. When's this release? What day is Halloween this
Probably
year?
on the 31st
Oh my gosh, Jared, I'm going to kill you.
of October.
There wasn't these-
specifically.
What day of the week?
If there wasn't these 4 microphones in between us right
He
now,
would
I
just
would just dive over and get you.
Hold me back.
Hold me back, Steve. The 31st is 2 weeks from actually the day we're recording this. So this will drop the day before Halloween.
It's getting
so it's
spooky
a
out there.
Thursday.
It is getting spooky. So I'm going to be Richard Simmons this year.
Oh my
because
gosh.
for me, he's kind of
Bro,
why
you-
I do what I do.
He's your icon.
He's my.
you
He's
gotta
my,
get them really short shorts.
Oh, I got him.
Are they gonna be
They're,
jorts?
they're actually sitting in the mailbox out there. I have to go
Yikes.
walk over and get them. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you, because we got to keep this just a kind of a fun,
Please wear tidy whities
Sure.
underneath.
fun guy.
Can I just?
I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
You
Would
should.
you be willing-
Please wear something under.
during when you're wearing this in your neighborhood?
Yes.
Just stay in your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going anywhere. But there'll be a lot of photography.
Oh, okay.
So you guys will get to see
We'll
it.
see it.
So I got white and red striped shorty shorts.
How short?
Very short.
There's a lot of kids around on Halloween.
That's why I said please
Stay
wear
with
tidy
your
whities.
family. Just stay in the family
Be with
unit.
my family.
Don't go off on your
I
own.
don't
in the
go
short
off
shorts
and walk
in
the
the neighborhood.
streets like this. I stand in front. My neighbor, we kind of all
You
converge
invite
on
all
one
the kids
neighbor's
to your
house. And would you
Jared,
stop? I'm not
that's
Michael
too
Jackson.
far.
I'm
Too
not Michael
far.
Jackson. I have my wig, and I piecemeal bought all this. I don't do the one-stop shop. I'm buying the Richard Simmons costume set.
Well, It's
I don't
really
do that.
cheap anyways.
I piecemeal
made.
it so that I get what I want. I got the right shorts. I got a tank top with his portrait on it. Just to really drive home.
So
Yeah, it's
people,
like
who he
people
is.
know.
He's a guy that would do that. He would wear a picture of himself on him, on his person.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Did
I
you know
love
they're making
that.
a biopic about him with Pauly Shore?
Are they really?
Pauly
Did
Shore.
not know
I think
that.
the family.
His story is fascinating.
I
As
think his
Pauly
family is
Shore
trying
being
to not,
him?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think his
He'd be
family is
good.
trying to not have the movie made. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
because that's been
we were
around.
fighting it.
I think I saw that like
Yeah,
a
it's
year
been
ago.
going on. It's been going on for a bit.
I got.
Is there anything positive about Halloween?
Well,
She didn't get
Hey,
to
I
say.
didn't get to finish my.
I'm sorry. Yeah, why did we skip her?
yeah.
We're not. We're going right back to her. I just
Chris
letting
just
you know
likes to
about my
talk
Richard Simmons
about
outfit.
his
Yeah, yeah.
costume.
About himself.
Anyway, I got the headband, wristbands, and this matching socks, and I got white, plain white high tops, off-brand Chuck Taylors, off-brand, cheap.
And
A fro?
of course,
Yeah.
the classic frizzy fro.
Don't forget the energy.
Oh, I'm bringing that
Well,
energy. That's
Yeah.
that's always there.
I have no doubt about that.
Back to that same question to you. That kind of underlying deeper meaning behind the holiday.
Yeah. Death and darkness
Yeah.
is encapsulated around this holiday. And it's really made me step back. Because,
Just in what, since in recent years?
yeah,
Or
it was just a year ago. I was trying to buy outfits, costumes for the kids.
Okay.
And just being a Christian, I just felt this resistance by just the Holy Spirit telling me, don't buy them. And I'm like, why? I always buy them. We always do something as a family. And I was just like, why? Every time I try to look it up, I was met with resistance and my gut didn't feel right. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And so I started praying, why am I meeting with resistance? And I started to talk to the family, the kids, and Jared and I, we sat down. I'm like, I'm not feeling quite kosher about Halloween this year for some reason. Kosher, man. And so I went to the kids and Jared and I said, can we all pray about this as a family? Like, is this something we want to celebrate still? And we took some time, we prayed, and we all came with the consensus that it's kind of dark and we've celebrated it for our own gain and for our own like joy and fun, and we're not really being a light in the darkness when we're just dressing up and getting candy and literally mimic what culture's doing. And so I wanted to be different, and we ended up making chocolates for our neighbors instead, homemade chocolates.
My response to
Yeah.
that was, that's fine. If we don't want to participate, we still have if we don't want to participate the way that everyone else is participating,
Yeah.
then what is God asking us to do instead?
Yeah.
Because it's also not beneficial just to be like, to hide from it and
Yeah.
like lock your doors and stay inside and,
And-
like, you
and
guys
judge
do your
everybody.
thing, but we're going to stay
Yeah.
inside and be afraid. And so I said, okay, guys, if we're not going to do that, if God is asking us not to do something,
Yeah.
he's probably asking us to do something instead.
Yeah.
And so what is that thing that he's asking us to do? And that's where you can finish the story.
Yeah, we spent a couple days making different types of chocolates and then brought it to our neighbors, and they were like giving our kids candy, and it's fine. Like, we are just trying to show them love, and I feel like it opened the door for our neighbors to start talking to us more,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
One
like,
in particular.
Yeah, especially one that would just avoid us. But it's just really, really interesting. Like, we've created deeper relationships just by that one act alone. And
We had another neighbor that was like, "Oh, she didn't know what to do. She's like, you guys want to come inside?" Or and we're like, "No, the point is not for us to come and invade your space.
Yeah, we're doing reverse Halloween here. We
yeah.
just want to give you something that we made
just
from our
wanted to
hearts. Yeah.
Let our neighbors know that we loved and appreciated them.
You can't walk without going in a store or seeing it everywhere in billboards, just the darkness that's around it and the fear that people enjoy. They like the fear, the scare.
Yeah, that's a weird thing too.
And so I'm like, man, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I just...
You mean like the fear of like going to Busch Gardens and
People-
where they have haunted
Yeah.
houses
People
and
like
stuff?
getting scared.
Yeah.
That's a sensation I've never enjoyed. Like, I don't really like.
Why do you think that is?
I don't.
Why
know.
do people like being scared?
That's
Because
what I'm saying, I don't
adrenaline,
know.
they get adrenaline from it. They get some endorphins from it. And I don't judge other people for celebrating, but I do want people to maybe start thinking, hey, is this what God's asking me to do as a Christian? Like,
And
to
I want
celebrate
them to
this
know
holiday.
that it's wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We don't want to judge you, really,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
But
no, I'm just
change.
kidding.
No, it's definitely like...
We just like you, Les. I mean,
Well, our neighbor came up to the kids yesterday and she was like, hey, what are you guys going to be for Halloween? Because we've actually gone to Halloween events with her.
that question's not going away.
No, it's
No.
not.
are you gonna be
And
following?
Karia said,
judgmental.
what are
I'm
you
gonna
doing?
be Jesus and the light.
Well, it sounds as if you are celebrating Halloween and you kept the candy. Just the only thing you got rid of is the costumes. Just to play devil's advocate here, to bring the devil
Okay.
into the conversation.
Well, I don't think that you're right.
I never said I was.
Yeah.
I-
I think that that's a wrong assumption. There was no celebrating, there was serving. And so we decided that it was too, like change our attire to look like our community, to look like the things that the world is doing, is to celebrate. And so we want to do something completely different. And
Celebrate's the wrong word. Sean. There's
Yeah.
still an observance
Right.
of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
participating in a different way.
Yeah.
In order to be somewhat countercultural.
Yeah. Sure.
Like if we
So
want
this
to be,
sounds like this is done prior to the day itself,
we
or
actually
is it the day of? that
we
you,
went out
Was
last
the-
year on the day.
day of.
and just like to give out like homemade
Chocolates,
chocolate
yeah.
to people, but
Yeah.
no one was dressed up.
No.
And then the kids just
Yeah.
did that with you, and you guys went home, kind of thing.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just went into our little
Your little neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Can I pose a concept? What
Okay.
if everyone dressed up as Bible characters? You had Samson, you had,
yeah.
and you were actually
I've
spreading
considered
the
it.
word a little
Yeah.
bit.
Churches have done that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I think last year was our
curious.
first time ever like doing this, and I think like we want to bring the kids into this conversation, and
Sure, yeah.
and so even this year I've been prayerful about like could we dress up as like a character, but all the characters of the Bible are extremely fallible and not heroes, and I guess they do direct us to God, and God does use them. So it's something I've
Again,
considered.
It's a priority and a perspective. Like, what's the motivation of what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Is the motivation because I want to get out there and I want to have a cool costume and I want to get a lot of candy, or is my motivation, hey, how can I share Jesus with people in the midst of everything that's going on? Like those are two different approaches, and so they both have. I'm participating in one way. I don't want to not participate and be
Yeah.
like, nope, you do your thing. Like there's like this whole movement, the holiness movement, where people are like, we can't go to movies anymore. We can't interact with anybody that is sinning, and it's like this separation. And that's, to me, that's not who Jesus was.
Yeah.
Jesus was, hey, I'm going to go to where the people are and I'm going to bring the truth to where they're at. And so my question is not how do we cancel Halloween? My question is how do we approach it in a way that we're able to bring Jesus to that, as opposed to just making it about what the world makes it about?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
And I mean, even Christians have made, trunk or treat, and they're like, let's do trunk or treats so that we
What's
can be the
trunk or treat?
light.
Sorry.
You don't know what
Trunk or treat is when you have like the church
Decorate.
parking lot, and you have all of the church people basically will park their cars, and you open your trunk and you decorate your trunk.
Decorate your car.
What are you
in
decorating your
different ways.
car as, though?
Anything.
Different themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes people will do like a Moses theme or an
Yeah,
Egyptian
yeah.
Or a movie theme. They'll
Yeah.
do like
Yeah.
an Aladdin.
Or-
theme.
or Minions, or-
But
right.
you
Yeah.
still get like Star Wars, you get Harry Potter, you get
Sure.
all of this stuff.
Yeah.
The idea is, I don't know, you're trying to give kids a safe place to go.
Yeah.
I guess back in our conversation of that nice small town, everyone out, everyone's
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that exists necessarily
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I respect the trying not to just do what everyone's doing just because everyone's doing it. That's
Yeah.
definitely hard to do, especially with kids that see
Oh, I know.
everything. You know what I mean? They see it
Yeah.
all. They're
Yeah.
like, why are we not doing it?
It's been really interesting to hear their perspective on stuff too, especially this year. So like Ezra in particular is like, man, there's like, he has a hard time with like skeletons and like zombies. And it just, there's driving up 19, there's like this big billboard with like, I think it's Pennywise, the
Oh,
clown.
well, that scares. I mean, that's normal though.
Yeah.
Right.
It scares a
Scare
lot of
clowns.
kids. It scares
Yeah.
adults.
But
Scares me.
But it's not that it scares him. It's that it makes him uncomfortable. He's like, I
Sure.
don't like it. I don't like that. That's the emphasis, and it bugs him.
Right.
Yeah. It is an emphasis during the season.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve.
I just wonder. I like the costume. I like costumes. I think I've always
Yeah.
been like a creative type and
Yeah.
the world building and
Yeah.
Harry Potter never really like I liked Harry Potter as a kid and stuff like that. It's all kind of up my wheelhouse. But I don't know. I feel like the costume, having kids being able to transform into a hero, and I think maybe it's been corrupted a little now. But like back in the day, it was like cops and robbers,
I
or
know, yeah.
cowboys and Indians, and if you close your eyes and think about what that is, they're play acting a moral battle. You know what I mean? They're play acting sort of a good guy and a bad guy, and I think that's why maybe the everything kind of got creepy. Like that's why there's
Yeah.
Pennywise exists as a antagonist to the heroes
Right.
in that story.
Yeah.
And I think if more people are just dressing up as the villains and identifying as the
Oh, man.
villains, I think we don't necessarily get the thing that I kind of liked about it, which is those kids get to dress up as the heroes
Right.
and do battle with the villains, and the kids dressed up as the villains
Yeah.
know that they're losing.
That's a
You know what I
unique
mean?
thing.
They kind of understand the.
We were actually
the
going to
story.
do a podcast on that about like Star Wars and like how everybody loves like the villain of Darth Vader, you know, and that they're like somewhere along the line, the cool factor was no longer being the hero, but the cool factor became like being the villain. And I think that's an interesting twist.
Yeah, when you
the
have
anti-stories,
third graders
yeah.
at your kid's school dressing as Pennywise, I'm like, what's going on? But people don't think it's bad, and they actually tell you, don't judge me. And I'm like, you're letting your kids watch that? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's hard.
Horror movies are another thing. We haven't really touched on that.
Yeah.
That's just, some people like I'm
But
too
it's a
old to go
season
trick
of-
or treating or even
of
dress
horror.
up. But around Halloween,
Or-
me and my wife might want to watch a scary movie. We like
Yeah.
scary movies.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being scared, I think, I don't know if it's necessarily all adrenaline. It's also just accepting your mortality. Like there's parts of to celebrate death, like the Mexicans do the Day of the Dead. That's kind of a different thing than Halloween. You know, they parade there. It's all about sort of their ancestors and their memory and their spirits and celebrating all the people back that are dead but are
Sure.
right. I mean, at least that's
Yeah.
my understanding of the
Well,
holiday.
but I do know too that there's, people who practice witchcraft and things along those. Where
Well, and I think
there's
those are
something-
branches
There's something
of-
unique
of-
about that day
yeah.
where they're kind of they do a lot of, and if you think about it, I mean it's not like because it's a special like, it's a day where like there's always a spiritual battle happening whether we recognize it or not, and so if we're giving an opportunity for
Inviting.
I
if
would
we're
s-
inviting demonic stuff to happen.
I feel like more than 50% though of the people that participate, like I have my whole life, it stays at that superficial level. I'm not giving it a lot of
Right.
time and energy and deep thought as to why I'm dressing up as Macho Man Randy Savage and be like, "What's up, brother?" and talking to the kids. For me, I'm playing a character that entertained me like crazy when I was a kid. This spider is flopping around in my head.
But what if you're
And-
unintentionally bolstering the power of the devil? You know what I mean?
know,
Like, I guess I
right.
think that's kind of
Sure.
where you might
Yeah.
agree
But, like,
with me.
I'm right with God, you know what I mean?
Unintentionally
Like,
giving
but if-
energy to.
But if the enemy can keep us apathetic,
I guess you're thinking about it on a whole level that I don't go to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go there.
I
And I
don't-
think
and
most people don't. Most people, like
don't.
I'm saying, who are listening
But would
right
you
now,
call that like a lukewarm then? You're not
I'm not
being
out doing witchery or
No.
playing on a Ouija board
Yeah.
or like
So-
contemplating murdering
I don't know if
somebody.
there's anything super special about the day itself, but what it
That's what I mean.
represents is then kind of you
Sure.
have to take it either way. Like I'd say
course.
the rainbow is a good example of a symbol that it represents something, and you can look at it either way and kind of figure out exactly what we're representing. But I'm not going to think a rainbow is like ultimately bad because people have misrepresented it. And so, you know what I'm trying to get
Well,
at?
They can't
Yeah.
take
It's a
something
symbol.
that's existed for millennia
Well,
and then in the last
October
10 years
31st.
make it symbolize
Yeah.
October
something else.
31st has existed for quite some time.
I think
No,
from
right.
I
our
don't know.
perspective, we definitely have tried to make our home more of a space of constant growing and being like with God a lot and reading his word a lot, that we take a lot of direction from that. And so when I look at like Deuteronomy chapter 6 and Deuteronomy 11, it says like we're supposed to be daily talking about God's promises, what he's done for us in our homes, like when we wake up, when we walk, when we eat, when we sit, when we have it posted against our fences and our door frames. Like when we are diving in God's word and we are just superficially celebrating a holiday that doesn't really represent Christ in any form, that's when I go, what's going on here? And so if we're feeling like we're being called to something, like it's not to say like, Chris, you don't love Jesus because you're you're celebrating.
Well, and that's what
not
I don't want that
is.
takeaway from people listening right now. That, oh, I'm a Christian. I'm
And
a
the thing is-
churchgoer. I read
yeah.
the Bible. I
Yeah.
pray. My house is all about being in the Word and all that stuff.
Yeah.
However, I
Yeah.
like to go to a party with my friends and dress up and be silly and
where's-
take funny pictures.
where's
And
the
why are
line?
you out here right now?
Where's
Get
the
in
line?
that room, young man.
Where's the line, right? Because, I mean, if you keep going, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to watch football because football celebrates man and not God. We're not going to watch TV shows anymore, because that distracts us from what,
Right. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Where
Because
is
a lot
that
of
line?
things are secular
And so I
or
think-
not
100%.
rooted
I
in
think-
God
so-
that you're around and part of every day.
I think
Paul
Go ahead.
says a couple of times, like, all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial, right? And so I think for us, it's not a question of determining what's right or what's wrong, but it's saying, God, how do you want? It's presenting it to God and saying, God, how do you want me to handle this?
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately what we do with everything in our lives, right? Is we're trying to say, Holy Spirit, give me direction on how you want us to do this as a family. And so what He asks us to do might
not
look
be-
different than what He's asking you to do. He
Yeah.
might be saying, Chris, I want you to be macho man, and I want you to love on your neighborhood.
And I need you to show
and
up.
and I need you to do that.
Yeah.
And so for us to be like, no, you can't do that, that's not right either.
No.
But if God tells us, hey, I want you guys to not dress up this year, and I want you guys to make something for your neighbors and go show love to them that way, then we need to be faithful and obedient to that. And there's nothing in Scripture that says, hey, on Halloween, this is what you're supposed to do. So we have to, in prayer and in honesty, go before God and say, how do you want me to handle this?
Yeah. And if there's a check in your spirit, you want to understand that. So that was, for me, that was our personal walk as a family. And if it encourages other people that are having similar feelings about it, heck, explore that with God. But we as a family aren't going to judge any Christian that celebrates. It is painful sometimes to see the darkness, but we're going to love, we're going to pray, we're going to serve.
The darkness is there.
Yeah.
No matter what day
it's there, certainly. I mean, I can just say from recent experience in my neighborhood, celebrating, giving out candy and stuff, and being in character myself over the
Yeah.
last several years. I'm obviously out there having a good time entertaining my neighbors who are laughing and taking video of me interacting with people and stuff. Half of the costumes are Captain America and Batman and other heroes
Sure.
from comic books. Like you go in my office and most of them are like, I celebrate the hero, Iron Man and all that stuff. But then the other half is, yes, like a zombie or a Grim Reaper or some of that stuff. And so I get it. I think people can get carried away and people start to explore those types of characters and take it to another level, I guess, and like want to know
Now they
more.
just start dressing in black
That's what I'm
all
saying.
throughout the year.
But
and
they become
makeup. And,
Goth.
well, yeah,
they turn goth. Well, goth is that's a gateway drug.
That's a whole nother
You know what I
thing,
mean?
right?
Like it's not too far off.
Yes,
You'll fall off that
explore
cliff.
that, explore that, because that is a whole kind of cultural thing that happens with younger people. I remember in high school myself, there was those people who only wore black and all kind of looked the same, and like had the same hairstyles and stuff, and kind of kept to themselves, and did seem like kind of the dark, depressed atmosphere around those people. Yeah. That goth kind of style that this is early 90s, but I obviously still exists on some level, right? You grew up with it.
I think kids are going to be angsty, angsty teens when whatever
Right.
that looks like.
Kind of hate but they look like they kind of hate the world, hate
feels
authority.
Good to be a rebel.
Yeah, be rebellious.
I think a lot of kids, I think you hate yourself a little bit because you're changing. You know what I
Right.
mean, in order to become a grown person, you kind of have to kill the self that you were.
That
You know what I mean?
innocent,
Oh,
fun-loving
yeah.
And
10-year-old.
I think there's something to be. I don't right now. There was a story I read. It was like a Twitter thread, but this woman was saying that back in the day, she was like kind of a weird kid, and like she didn't really feel good about herself. So she just kind of left home at 16 and like went and did other things. She worked at like a bar. She did this. She hung out with. I believe there was like I think it was a gay bar or something.
You can work at 16 at a gay bar?
I think. Well, that was she. the whole point of her story, the whole point of her story
sorry.
was that by leaving home, it was before the age of the internet. She was an anonymous person because she left her small town and moved to the city.
Yeah.
She was able to reinvent herself
Yes.
without her past following her and everything that she's done and all of her embarrassing Facebook posts and you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
now today, kids don't really have that opportunity to reinvent themselves, and I feel like that's what's this is getting into a whole other thing, but that's what's driving all of these kids to sort of actually change themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like okay, I can't actually reinvent myself in any real way because people still remember me. I have to force it and get operations and yada yada yada. And I thought that was an interesting. I just thought of it now while we're having our conversation because there is something to be said about play acting and pretending, and
Yes.
you kind of develop like yourself over time as a child.
Yeah.
And I know I did a ton of dress up. I should be a total flamer at this point. If I were to if I thought that would be, if I looked back now and I say like, oh, if I saw little kid Steve, I'd be like, ooh, that kid's
There's
in trouble.
something,
Yeah, he's gonna be kissing dudes soon. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
He is a member of the village.
I think because I was free to sort of just explore different. I was acting. I was doing theater stuff and dancing around. You know what I mean? I feel like it kind of opened me up a
I
little
did
bit.
that stuff though.
Well,
I was an anomaly though.
But I mean, it was still far enough back in the day that there was no visual
Push.
proof of it that someone could bring back later on. You know what I mean? I don't, there's not much pictures of me or video of me. Now everything's 4K and recorded. You know what I mean? Like, so you can kind of reinvent yourself.
I'm glad there were no cell phones
And I
when
know-
I was in college. Let me tell you that much.
I'm trying to redirect this back to the Halloween thing, but I feel like dressing up and having fun and playing and play acting sort of immortal narratives between good guy and bad guy on this special day where things seem a little more real, a little more creepy. I think there's something magical. There's something
Exciting.
I don't know. Maybe
We can
not
say,
necessarily
though-
exciting, but inspiring to kids. And if they're latching on to the evil characters and that this is their moment to be evil, like
Right.
okay, that might be
You're
a
creeping
bad
me
thing
out, kid.
for sure.
Like, you got
I
some
can
problems.
Most kids don't do that, you know.
If you go and you look at the decorations, though, if you go into a Halloween store and you're looking at decorations, most things are skeletons,
butcher's
Blood.
knives.
You know
and,
that.
know,
So when people
Gore.
are decorating their outside of their houses, they're never. It's not like pretty nice fall. Typically, it's like, guy coming up out of the grave. And,
Blood.
it's,
I'll go back to the narrative though. The greatest of heroes have to surmount the greatest of odds.
Sure.
And all of that evil, it might just be a demonstration of the odds in which you have to overcome
sure.
on that day.
But-
Perhaps. I'm just
But
throwing
again,
that out there. As
just like most of the people aren't going deeper.
Sure.
Most of the people who are decorating aren't going deeper. They just go,
They
oh,
don't
cool.
give it a second thought.
They're
It's
like,
Halloween's. Look at what we
And
have
so-
here. We have a giant spider sitting on some pumpkins with
Spooky.
some leaves. We have some skulls over there with a little spider on it.
Yeah.
It's just like the vibe of Halloween.
Right, which
and
is death.
Which is death. It is.
Sure.
Yeah.
skull is definitely
And there's a
spooky ghost,
ghost.
spooky ghost.
And we make these characters friendly too. So we take a reality of spirits and ghosts and we say, well, make them cute, make them smile, make them friendly, make them
I'd like to think that my
fun,
mom's
make them
spirit
dance.
is nice and friendly.
So we,
But she's not here.
yeah,
She is here. She's right here.
Sure.
her memories are living.
Yes. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
She doesn't come and visit you on Halloween.
No, but that would be cool if she did.
you'll get to see her one day.
I guess in some ways I'm a bit cynical because I feel like I'm not where you guys are. Obviously, it's evident, right?
Which is
I'm
fine.
going to be Richard Simmons this Halloween. You know, I'm going to be
Yeah.
in my neighborhood, handing out. I'm going to be having a fun time. People are going to be laughing. I'm going to be entertaining myself as much as other people, and I'm going to wake up on November 1st, and it's out of my brain, and I'm not thinking about Halloween for another 350 days. So it doesn't like rest with me. It's just like it's a silly, odd thing to do and to participate in and have fun in. And it is, for me, I look at it as like a play that I'm
Well, and our
performing
kids
in.
like to dress up, like even not on Halloween. Like my parents' house in the basement, they have like
Sure,
this
and
whole
play
rack
pretend. You're doing
of
pretend.
costumes and stuff from Halloween past, where our kids will still would like to dress up and pretend and play in the basement.
Right.
You know, I mean, I get that aspect of it for sure.
And it's pretty evident with you. You're just kind of like, you're at the age now where you're not maybe participating in anything, but you
I don't
might
have kids,
You might
so
go to
it
a
may
party or
change.
something with adults where there's a dress up theme.
My opinion may sway over to their opinion once I have kids. I don't know.
Correct.
As I do believe there is. I don't think it's just like a secular nonsense. So let's just do the thing everyone's doing. I think there is something to it. I just don't see it in like it's so dark and needs to be kind of not shunned, but like, let's not observe this thing because it's all evil. I see it more as human beings, we need to kind of see the evil always needs to be in the forefront, and oftentimes we forget that the evil's out there. And this, I don't know. To me, the holiday is. It's always about story. Yeah, whenever you have a conversation about anything deep, I always go back down to like this is all about story. This is the story. It is about death, but it's about overcoming death and overcoming the fear of death.
Be.
And
it should be about that.
Well,
but
that's how
but
I see it.
Right.
I mean, you see it in a different way, and
Right.
Chris sees it in a different way. So I think how it should be seen is how I want to see it. And like I said, my opinion on this may change. I may come closer to you in later years. I'd be like, I'm kind of done with this.
Yeah.
Another kind of thing, it's not Halloween, but it's kind of along the same lines of it, is like music. And, we can go to like a Taylor Swift where she's like performing like satanic rituals on stage, and we're like, yeah, Taylor Swift is awesome, and let's take our kids to her concert, and she's the best thing from here to there to everywhere. And we're sitting here going like, oh my gosh, look at these things that she's doing that are like clearly.
I could have an easier conversation about a specific thing and a specific person singing specific songs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Taylor Swift isn't a concept. Taylor
Right.
Swift is an actual thing happening nowadays. Like
Right.
now, Halloween is like a different thing to a lot of different people. So
Right.
I think that's where I'm
my
kind of.
point is not. My point is that people will enjoy her music on a superficial level, and they're ignoring what's going on underneath the surface.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I'm saying, as a believer,
They look past it or don't see it at all.
right? And as a believer, I'm saying, I want to say, God, what do you think about this thing, and how do I, as Romans 12 would say, transform my thinking to be like your thinking, and how would you approach this? Because I want to approach it the way that Jesus would approach it, and not the way that Jared wants to approach it.
And that's what I think what we're doing and what God's asking us to do. He's my dad. He's asking me to do something because maybe he doesn't like that I'm taking it to a darker level and celebrating at a darker level.
But at the same time, what he's asking us to do can look different than what he's asking you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And one is not right and the other is wrong. It's just, it looks different for different,
Right.
because we're all different. We're all wired different. Like if I struggle with alcohol, God's not going to ask me to go to the bar and witness to people,
Yeah.
because he's going to know that that's going to be putting me into temptation.
Yeah.
At the same time,
Joe Schmo is okay with alcohol. He can go
Yeah.
into bars.
right.
Joe
So-
Schmo, he's
so-
a pretty good guy.
Yeah,
So as
you know?
Christians, we can focus. I'm going to do this for Halloween. This is what I'm going to get from Halloween. This is me. How about we start shifting our focus a little bit and start saying, okay, God, is this okay?
And it expands beyond Halloween.
Yeah.
It expands to all holidays. Because most of our holidays that we celebrate extend from some sort of pagan something.
At least the date. I would like. There's the
Right.
the October, like whatever
Date-
the Halloween date is.
yeah.
What that's the important thing, right? That's what the
Yeah.
Wiccans like.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like there's like that date is the important thing,
Yeah.
whereas the
So-
date is less important for at least the Christian holidays that we observe as the United States, because the date necessarily isn't the same date. It's
Sure.
the spirit of it. So I don't know how important
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah. And doesn't Satan like to take truth, because he knows scripture, and warp it into his own understanding so that we then accept that, because it makes sense to our selfish, sinful self to accept that kind of truth. And so we go, okay, it's fine. I don't feel bad about it. But we got to be careful a little bit as followers. So I would challenge Christians to just think, pray, and maybe see if God's trying to say something, but
Or maybe God's asking you to do something on that day that looks a little different
Different.
than what you've done in the past,
Yeah.
in order to share the gospel with somebody.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
Yeah.
a good way to identify too, because in your neighborhood you'll get the people that don't do any decoration, and the light to the front door is out, and you know that Halloween's not on their radar at all. And they could be younger people, older people, or somewhere in between.
Or not home.
Or not home at all. I'm away on vacation. It could be people that are more have done the kind of fall festive decor with just pumpkins and leaves and stuff, and it's kind of stays there, and it doesn't really enter into the Halloween theme.
Yeah.
And they maybe participate handing out some candies or not,
Yeah.
but their home is decorated in a way that's actually just very kind of nice, that can flow right through Thanksgiving. And then you get the people that are full-fledged spiders and skulls and headstones and music playing and all that stuff, and they're having fun with it. They even set mazes up in their yard, or for people to walk through their property and see all this elaborate thing.
Yeah.
Are they still like probably good people or nice people? Most of them probably are. I don't think they're all just sitting around having witchcraft
Yeah.
ceremonies.
But God doesn't call us to be good people. He calls us to be holy people.
I know. I
So
think
there's
that's
difference.
the biggest difference I can say is this, is like, I have a tendency, and this might be good or bad, I think I don't see everything through like God's word the way you guys do. I don't put everything through like, I'm not at the grocery store putting on my scripture lens and like, is this okay? Like,
But we're called to be disciples, and
we are.
The Great
I just
Commission.
think
What did
some
it
of us
say?
are different places.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
But
not
do you want to go there?
Not necessarily. I'm not feeling the call to like put my Jesus lens on for every moment of my day.
That's sad for me to hear. You know why? Because you might be running into people that needed you to talk to them.
I feel like I am suited in the armor.
He did talk to them. He's talking to everyone.
No, I mean
He
about
doesn't-
Jesus.
doesn't stop
That's true.
talking.
But his
He's maybe
talks
not
are a lot
talking about
about
Jesus,
him
but-
and not a lot about Jesus.
It's true.
Yeah, maybe there's another conversation that can be had that takes this kind of to another level of like wearing the armor of God in every moment of your day. But I feel spiritually connected. I'm in the Word. I pray over my family, over people in this business. I'm very much rooted in a lot of my behaviors. But I guess I have a tendency, good or bad, to be able to maybe not have to see everything through this. That's just our reminder that we're wrapping up. To see everything through this lens. Like almost like I got my Jesus glasses on all day, every day.
I think
there's times where I'm able to. I don't know. My prescription's different than yours. So
I think this is a larger conversation.
It is.
For this particular topic.
It is.
I just want to say that about the holiday thing we were discussing earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that
well, I'm still on the holiday.
the observance of a day where they kind of are thinking about death maybe meant more and had more of an impact back in the day, when right before going into winter, when people were just half the people were dying because it was a harsh winters were a reality back then. And
Sure.
so I'll put that out there just because we haven't brought that up yet. Is that the observance of some of these, how like the harvest,
change of the
harvest day of
seasons, yeah.
Thanksgiving, kind of that made sense when you had a lot of food because you just harvested. It was, let's have a big
Feast.
darn meal, yeah. You know what I mean? Because we're getting into some tough times. Every year was a struggle for a lot of people, and it was a different thing. So maybe observing and respecting the concept of death was more important back then than it even is now. Now we're just kind of play acting it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Yep. That's good.
No, I appreciate. I mean, ultimately, that's what I thought. I thought we'd all kind of come at this. Probably you guys more on a united front as husband and wife, and you're in agreement and see things similarly or the same. And I knew I kind of see this more just on that surface level where I'm just out there to have fun, and I don't give it a lot of my effort or my energy. It's just more of just a fun
outlet.
to be a character.
And that's definitely how we were.
Yeah.
It's just
And
Crazy how
But
it can change.
It just changed, obviously. And you said recently.
Yeah.
10 years ago when you had much younger children.
We celebrated Dia de los Muertos because we had a foster kid.
Just call it Halloween.
No, it's November 1st because we had a part Mexican
Okay, so
kid
you're
in
actually
foster
saying
care.
you celebrated
For
the
him.
actual
Yeah.
Day of the Dead, not even Halloween.
Right.
Well, you celebrated Halloween on 31st, and then, I had decorations and everything.
Well, this is the American version, right? We're not. I think most
the American
no-
holiday season is exhausting. all right?
It is
Like,
exhausting. It
Halloween
is.
and this and Thanksgiving and it's like
No, people
I
love
got
it.
work
It
to
is.
do. I can't,
People love that there's holiday
Can't
back to back.
plan around.
Gives them
this.
purpose, give
Well,
them focus.
That's a whole nother conversation with people that set up for Halloween in August and then they can't wait. And then they take down their Halloween stuff and Christmas goes up the next day. And then they leave that up until January 31st. It's some people.
It's a
just-
distraction.
Well, yeah, can be.
Yeah.
But
I think-
this is fun.
So I was gonna say my final thought, I guess, as a believer, I would just encourage people to say, "Hey, God, how do you want me to approach this?" Like, have that honest prayer, and be willing to hear what God has to say on it. So, and know that it's going to look different for different people,
Right.
and that's okay.
That's all right.
Right. Well, and the ways people celebrate kind of any holiday, whether it be
Absolutely.
Thanksgiving or Christmas,
Exactly.
it all looks
Yep.
different, and
we're
everyone's
trying
at different levels.
and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do that with every holiday.
Right.
God, how do you want us to celebrate Christmas? How do you want us to celebrate Thanksgiving? You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Love
and
it.
Braving the
Compound.
What are they braving?
compound.
The
I don't know. What are you
compound?
braving? Blessings over you though, and you're dealing with your migraine
Thank
stuff.
you.
No, I know.
The audience
'cause it
didn't
was-
even know.
The
That's right.
audience
They
didn't know,
didn't
but
know.
I'm going there. I'm going there. No,
Yeah.
that's where I'm going with
Yeah.
that. Was just you being able to be part of the conversation because
Yeah,
it
same.
made it more of a conversation to have
better.
your voice here for sure. Steve, thanks for always being our historian.
Historian.
Our
Yeah, you're
intellect.
We're in trouble if I'm your historian.
You're there because
Good.
I'm
Way to
certainly
have
not.
humility.
I'm certainly
We
not
are in
there.
trouble. I agree.
We are in trouble. Hey, you're good. You
I
were
believe
put
in
on
like
the spot. and
1/8
you
of history that we're told. So terrible
That's
historian.
true. That's true. No,
Lord.
but this is fun. I appreciate you guys being part of it, and it's something a little bit different. And
Yeah.
thank you, listeners, for tuning into the Strong by Design podcast, and hope our conversation was both entertaining and enlightening. Certainly. I learned a couple of things, and maybe this is something that you feel called to participate in a different way, or you're kind of where I'm at, where I guess I just don't give it a lot of my. I'm not there yet. I haven't arrived at this deeper level of contemplation when it comes to this holiday. I like to dress up and be silly and goofy and be entertaining, and then move on to November football. So anyway, we thank you for listening. God bless you. Remember, you were created strong in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. And we appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you next week on Wednesday when a new episode drops. Adios.
Bye.
Peace. Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.